Okay, everyone, welcome to this review game. C period, say hi.
What up, C period?
Good morning.
Welcome to this. Welcome to your review game. This is for Chapter 3. As always, I'm going to give you a question, 4 possible answers. Remove the answers one at a time. Every time you get an answer right, you get 5 points. Every time you have to change your answer because it got removed, you lose a point. If the point system doesn't matter to you, just make up your own point system and just have a lot of fun with it. Okay, but be sure to give yourself penalties. Also, be sure to pay attention to the wrong answers, and let us get going with this and move on. Okay, so what you'll be seeing looks like this. You don't even want to know what C period is guessing right now to this one, but anyway. What I do is I slowly remove things. I tell you it's not Adams. I tell you it's not the guy who's not even ever president. I tell you it's not Jefferson, and there you go. Simple, straightforward. Let's get to the actual questions. Question number 1. Which of these events happened first? And yes, I would recommend knowing the dates for all 4 of these events. Which of these events happened first? Was it the beginning of the Holy Roman Empire? Was it the fall of Spain, fall of Catholic Spain to the Muslims? Was it C, the fall of Rome? Or was it D, the Battle of Tours? So 3 of these are very militaristic, but yes, you do need to know the dates for all 4 of these. Which happened first? Now I'm going to remove these by actually going in backwards order until we get to the first event. So the first thing to get rid of is the start of the Holy Roman Empire. That occurred in the year 800. Very easy date to remember. That's when Charlemagne gets crowned the first Holy Roman Emperor. Nor is it the Battle of Tours. That occurred in the year 732. The Tours of Poitiers, that's when Charles Martel, Charlemagne's grandfather, stopped the Muslim invasion into the rest of Europe. 732. Nor was it what happened right before that, approximately speaking, right before that, the fall of Spain, which occurred in what year? The easiest year to remember?
Christmas Day.
Stop it. 711 was the fall of Spain. The fall of Rome happened 3 centuries prior to all of these events, and that was in the year 410. 410, fall of Rome. 800. Okay. Question number 2. Speaking of the fall of Rome, who caused it? Who caused the fall of Rome? I have a lot of answers that start with A here. Was it Alaric, Attila, Arius, or Augustine? Alaric, Attila, Arius, or Augustine? Who caused the fall of Rome? Well, it was not Augustine. Augustine wrote about the fall of Rome in his famous book, The City of God, but he did not cause the fall of Rome. He was just south when it happened. Nor was it Arius. Arius was the famous starter of the heresy Arianism. Arius was from Alexandria. Arianism was the whole denial of Jesus' divinity, denial of the incarnation. Nor was it Attila. The other 2 at the top were barbarians, famous guys who came close to or did invade Rome. The one who actually did it was Alaric, the king of the Goths. Attila did show up to Rome a little bit later, but that was when Pope Leo the Great dissuaded him from attacking, and Attila had the vision of Peter and Paul defending Rome and decided to not ever attack Rome. But Alaric was the guy who actually was successful. Only thing you really need to know about him was that. Question number 3. Now, all of these are church fathers, but which one of them wrote the Vulgate? Which one of them wrote the Vulgate?
Was the Vulgate the translation of the Bible?
Vulgate is to do with the translation of the Bible. Let's see if you remember which one that was. Was it Augustine, Jerome, Athanasius, or Ambrose? Which of these church fathers wrote the Vulgate? Well, let's start getting rid of them. Ambrose did not. Ambrose was a church father. He was the one who was made bishop almost against his own will because he had been governor. Wasn't him. They all lived around the same time, though. Nor was it Athanasius. Athanasius wrote many things, especially against Arianism. He also wrote a life of St. Anthony of Egypt. Nor was it him. Nor was it Augustine. Augustine had a brilliant mind, and two very important books that Augustine wrote were The City of God and The Confessions. Yes, I would know both of those for the test, which they were. But the guy who actually translated the whole Bible into Latin, which made the church's official translation, was Jerome. Question number 4. Which of these was Pope during the reign of Constantine? Which of these guys was Pope during the reign of Constantine? Was it Leo, Liberius, Sylvester, or Benedict? Which of these was Pope during the time of Constantine? Almost entirely during the time of Constantine. While Benedict becomes a pope's name later on, the Benedict that we're talking about is not Pope yet. So, no, it's not Benedict. While Leo is alive very early on at this time of the church, it's not Leo. Leo the Great was the one who famously opposed Attila the Hun and wrote much about the papacy. Nor was it Liberius. Someone just gave themselves 3,000 points. Good for them. Okay. Nor is it Liberius. Liberius was the pope who was famously tortured by supporters of Arianism in order to get him to break. He never does. But he was a little after the guy who was pope during that time. That was actually Sylvester. Also, as a quick reminder, Sylvester was the one who was pope during the time of Constantine, but he really didn't do that much. Okay, everyone hang on. Let's see if this works still. Go back. Please, please, please. Okay, we're still okay. Still recording. I'm still recording. Okay. Tiny little computer glitch. All right. Question number 5. Let's see if we can keep going here. Do I still control this? Okay, let me fix this slightly. Do that. Question number 5. All of these are heresies. Which one of them said that a person could earn their way to heaven? That if you worked just really hard, you would earn your way to heaven. You didn't need God's help. You didn't need His grace. There's no need for salvation. Jesus was just a good example. All sorts of stuff like this. Which of these was that? Let's get rid of the big obvious contender first. The big heresy of note here is actually Arianism. It's not that one. Arianism was all about the denial of Christ's divinity, a denial of the Trinity, of the Incarnation. But it didn't have anything to do really with salvation. That's not anything that Arius approached. He actually agreed with the church on pretty much everything to do with salvation itself. Nor was it Donatism. Donatism, or Donatism, was a very strict heresy that was all about if a person blasphemed, they couldn't come back into the faith, and also that priests had to be in the state of grace in order to effectively do the sacraments. It wasn't Donatism. Nor was it Nestorianism. Nestorianism was also another one of the Christological heresies. The Christological heresies are heresies directly about the person of Christ. Nestorius said that Jesus was essentially two people, two persons. One was human, one was divine, and that Mary never gave birth to God Himself. The heresy that advanced this view was Pelagianism. Pelagius was this British priest who said that if you work just really hard at it, you can earn your way to heaven. Jesus is a bad example. Jesus is a good example of this. Adam was a bad example of life, and that's all there really was to Christianity, was what Pelagius taught. Pelagianism was famously written against by Augustine, who very much recognized the need for God's grace. Question number 6. We're on the halfway point. We'll probably start picking up speed here a bit. Which of these, this isn't the most important question I could ask you, but I think it does, I really wanted to drive home that you know the answer to this because we're going to refer to this a few times. Which of these was the original name of Constantinople? Was it Alexandria, Byzantium, Istanbul, or Rome? Which of these was the original name of Constantinople? Constantine moved the capital city to this place, to this location, And then he named it Constantinople, but what was its name prior to this point? Well, I think we all know it wasn't Rome. Rome and Constantinople are two different entities, two different places. He moved it out of Rome, so it's not there. Nor is it in Egypt, which is Alexandria. Alexandria is Egypt, right there along the coast. And while its current name is Istanbul, the original name of Constantinople was Byzantium. This is where we get the phrase, the Byzantine Empire, that Eastern Roman Empire, the Byzantine Empire. This is where its name comes from. It's not called the Constantinople Empire, it's called the Byzantine Empire, because it sort of recognizes where it's from. Let's get to some meatier questions. Question number 7. Bringing in another term here. Let's see if we remember which one it is. There's so much we could talk about with Islam. This is just one random question from it. The Hijra is what? It's something to do with Islam, but what? Is it A, the holy book of Islam? Is it B, Muhammad's flight from Mecca? Is it C, the month of fasting? Or is it D, the pilgrimage to Mecca that all Muslims are to do once in their life, if they're able to? Which is it? Let's get rid of the obvious one. It is not A, the Holy Book of Islam, is the Quran. K-O-R or Q-U-R-A-N. That's the Holy Book of Islam. Nor is it C, the month of fasting is Ramadan. I'm probably not going to ask you about Ramadan on the test, but it is important to know that it exists and one of the pillars. The remaining two options both deal with Mecca. Muhammad's historic flight from Mecca, and then the annual, or not the annual, but it can be done annually, but then the pilgrimage to go visit Mecca. The pilgrimage to visit Mecca is known as the Hajj, H-A-J-J. But Muhammad's historic flight from Mecca, which is also the first year of the Islamic calendar, in the year 622, his flight from Mecca is known as the Hijra, the flight, the escape. Question number 8. Who was the victor of the Battle of Tours? Who was the victor of the Battle of Tours? Was it Attila? Was it Charles Martel? Was it Charlemagne? Or was it Pepin? Which of these was the victor of the Battle of Tours? Let's see. Let's get rid of the most obvious person who it's not, and that would be A, Attila. It was definitely not him. Attila the Hun was running around causing all sorts of problems, but he was not the victor of this battle. Now the remaining 3 options are all related. Charles Martel was the father of Pepin. Pepin is the father of Charlemagne. So in that order. So it's Charles, then Pepin, and then Pepin is the father of Charlemagne. But which is it? Well, it's not Pepin. Pepin famously fought and gave the land of Italy, or much of the land of Italy, to the Pope. He had conquered the Lombards on behalf of the Pope and gave quite a bit of that land that he had conquered directly back to the Pope, which sort of left the Pope in charge. It's not Pepin. Nor was it Pepin's son, Charlemagne. Charlemagne was the first Holy Roman Emperor in the year 800. Charlemagne sort of continues the policies of his father Pepin. The guy who is actually the victor of the Battle of Tours is this man in charge of the Franks here, a man named Charles Martel. Charles Martel in the year 732 famously put a stop to the, at least to the western side of the Muslim invasion into Catholic Europe. Question number 9. Which of these is the father of Christian monasticism? Which of these is the father of Christian monasticism? Is it A, Anthony, B, Athanasius, C, Basil, or D, Benedict? Which of these is the father of Christian monasticism? let's get rid of the one guy up here who really has nothing to do with the whole monasticism thing, and that would be B, Athanasius. Athanasius was a great church father. He wrote about the father of Christian monasticism. He wrote a biography about him, which I already mentioned earlier. Let's see how well you remember. But he himself really has nothing to do with being a monk. He was a bishop. Nor was it Benedict. Benedict is the father of Western Christian monasticism. Benedict sort of got it going in the West, and his style is the style that pretty much most orders in the West now use. Nor was it Basil who got it going, Basil, who got it going in the East, Basil the Great, the man who introduced the idea of vows to the community. The guy who actually just originally got it going was Anthony. Anthony of Egypt was the one who just decided to go out there one day, live in the wilderness, and after a while an entire community sort of started growing around him of people trying to live out the same lifestyle. Question number 10. Which of these, this is a silly question perhaps, but I like it. Which of these persons is not related to Constantine? Which of these persons is not related by blood to Constantine? Is it A, Constantius, B, Helena, C, Monica, or D, Julian? Which of these persons is not related to Constantine? Well, let's get rid of the obvious one. Constantius is his father. Also, he has a son named Constantius, but his father is Constantius. Don't worry about that too much. Let's get rid of the other guy on here as well. Julian is his nephew. Julian is his half-brother's son. Julian is a blood relation to Constantine, and remember as well to Constantine's sons. Constantine's sons kill their uncles, their cousins, etc. to establish, to ensure their place on the throne. Now the remaining two women here are both very famous moms, Helena and Monica. Both have cities named after them, all sorts of stuff like this. But which of these was not related to Constantine? Well, Constantine built his mother her own city, and that city for Constantine's mom was Helenopolis. Helena was the famous mother of Constantine. She was also the founder of the cross, the patron saint of archaeologists. She is a saint. Monica is also a saint. She is the saintly mother of Augustine. That's who Monica is. The mother of Augustine, the mother who begged and pleaded for her son to be a Christian and cried many times over it. Question number 11. Which of these, this shouldn't be a too difficult one because we didn't really use the other words that much, but it's still important to know which one it is. Question 11 is, which of these was Julian's title? Or sort of, not perhaps so much at the time, but historically, which of these was his title? Was it Julian the Apostate, Julian the Heretic, Julian the Pagan, or Julian the Schismatic? Now, I've said this enough times, I'm not really going to belabor this subject too much. He was not Julian the Schismatic. Julian did not go off and say, I love Jesus, but I want to start my own separate church of Jesus. That's what schism is when you leave pretty much believing a lot of the same stuff, but you just form your own church. Nor was he a heretic. He didn't object to one view about Christ, he objected to all of them. Now you might say, was he a pagan? Yes, he was a pagan, and even tried to get a pagan church going, but historically his title has not been Julian the Pagan, but it has been Julian the Apostate. Apostasy being the sin of entirely abandoning one's faith, which Julian did in order to sort of pursue or re-pursue paganism. Question 12. This is going to be the last regular question for a while. And I have a couple of concepts going on here. Shouldn't be too difficult, especially by process of elimination to figure out this question. Which of these persons brought about the conversion of France through the union of throne and altar. Which of these persons brought about the conversion of France through the union of throne and altar? Now, a reminder, the union of throne and altar essentially means that whichever way the king goes, the throne, so also his citizens would go. So his religion becomes the religion of everyone else. We don't have hugely pluralistic societies for quite some time. So who is it? Which of these guys is it that brings about the conversion of France through the union of throne and altar? Well, let's get rid of a couple of heretics on the list first. It's not Donatus. Donatus was the famous heretic who started the Donatism, which was that very strict form of Christianity that once you blasphemed against Christ, you could never be welcomed back. All sorts of stuff like that. Nor is it Nestorius. Nestorius, who was promulgating that Jesus was two separate persons. It wasn't him. And I told you this question is actually fairly easy if you just do process of elimination here. Nor is it Patrick. Patrick did bring about the conversion of Ireland through the union of throne and altar. Now, Patrick wasn't a king, but he definitely went to the kings, to the chiefs, to the leaders, and was very persuasive with them, which is partially how he brought about the conversion of the entire country. The person who did this was Clovis. King Clovis was a Christian. And he very much, he became a Christian back in the year 496. He brought pretty much everyone along with him as well. And that's what made France, the famous eldest daughter of the church, a Christian and a Catholic country for so long. Now, as I warned you, question 13 is going to be very different. In fact, I'm going to probably have to even pause the video to make sure people have a good chance at getting the correct answer to it. Question 13 has 6 events. And of these 6 events, they need to be put in order. Now, they all occur within the same century. They all occur during the 4th century. The reason I have this question up here is I definitely want people to be able to do very well on this essay. The big essay of what happens to the legal status of Christianity. So the question here, very simply, is put these events in order. Please put the following events in order. So I'm going to pause the video here while my beloved C period takes a crack at it. Okay, and we're back, and hopefully, if you haven't already paused the video, hopefully you've made your best guesses. Now, which of these events happens first? The first event that happens on this list would actually be Constantine's escaping from Galerius. That would be the first event that happened in the early 300s. Right around 306 is when that would have happened. This is when Constantine was still a young man, and he escaped to go be with his father. Okay, but he was held sort of a political prisoner, a prisoner at court by Galerius, who was Galerius and Diocletian. As a reminder, Galerius and Diocletian were both avid persecutors of Christianity, and right after them essentially is pretty much Constantine. Going through the list, the next major event that happens occurs in the year 312. Yes, you must, I would know this date, and that is Milvian Bridge. The Milvian Bridge is the second event on here. Constantine escapes Galerius, then Milvian Bridge. Milvian Bridge is in October of the year 312. This is when Constantine goes for Rome, moves in to attack and have Rome against Maxentius. The Battle of the Milvian Bridge, right before the battle, is when he has the famous sign that he sees of the cross and the sort of requirement or command that he use the cross for battle. The third event on here occurs simply... Reconnecting. The third event on here that occurs simply is... Okay, if the program doesn't finish writing this, that's okay, but it is still Zoom recording. Okay, sorry about the technical mishaps. Okay, second event was the Milvian Bridge was the year 312. The next event, Constantine, out of gratitude, in the year 313, passes the Edict of Milan. out of gratitude to the Christian God for giving him victory. And then we go through all of Constantine's reign, and then right when Constantine dies, his sons come to power, and one of the first things they do when they come to power is they kill off the competition. And this actually, quite disgustingly, are family members. So the third thing is the fourth thing is Constantine's sons killing their family members, including their cousins. They famously spare one cousin. This is in the 330s that this happens. They spare one cousin, their 5-year-old cousin Julian. Well, after they've been around for a while, and Julian's been around for a while, finally Julian comes to power. This is a very brief reign from the year 361 to 363. Julian, remember, tries to reassert paganism. He establishes a pagan church. He tries to rebuild the temple in Jerusalem. That goes up in flames, literally. There's the whole pagan church. There's trying to get rid of the Christian things, trying to bring back the pagan things. After Julian dies, the subsequent emperors get rid of Julian's pagan practices, but this really all culminates in the year 379, 380, when Theodosius comes to power and he passes a law that essentially just mandates Christianity. And the reason I spend so much time on this slide is it's so important for the essay. Especially, I draw your attention to the following underlined points. Those four right there on the right, as it'll show up for you guys in a second, don't worry. But these four on the right here, I cannot imagine getting through that essay without addressing these 4 points. If you can include dates, that's so much the better. So I hope this video is helpful. If not, come see me if you have any questions. Have a good study day. Enjoy the rest of your day.